What's up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and I am here today, you guys, with a brand new review for The Real Housewives of Orange County. This is season 19. This is episode number 3, and this episode was titled Knee Deep in Lies, you guys. Now, before I go ahead and get into the review, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, then I need you guys to do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, you guys, subscribing to the channel, and also by turning on your post notifications. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's discuss the Real Housewives of Orange County, shall we? All right, guys. Tell me if you guys watched this episode. What do you guys think about it in the comments? And we will go ahead and jump right on into the review. So this episode, it was a good episode. I have to say that. So I guess I can start up with Katie. So in this episode, now the first thing that we see in this episode, it is Katie. So we see Katie. So Katie and Gina, they are at this spa getting some hair treatment, right? And so Gina apologizes to Katie. And she apologized to Katie because she was like, this is just me and you, no Emily popping up. I was like, well, I'm glad that there's no Emily popping up. So she did apologize about that. And I was like, well, that's good that you apologized to her for ambushing her with Emily at that last meetup that they had. Because I honestly wasn't here for Gina doing that, but it is what it is, right? So then they also had a conversation. So in this conversation, they began to talk about Tamra. And, Katie's whole thing is with Tamra, everything that's, kind of happened, everything that's come to light, is come to light because Tamra mentions it, which I was like, okay, I'll give you that. Because here's the thing, like I said last week, and I'll stand on it again this week. If Tamra knew that Shannon had been recorded by Katie, even if you are not in a good space with Shannon, you still could have sat there and told Shannon, like, hey, Shannon, the girl that you cool with, you might want to watch your back with her. But she didn't do that. And that's because Tamra is nothing but a gutter snipe and a piece of trash. But that's, my little 2 cents when it comes to Tamra Judge. You guys can let me know what you guys think and what you guys feel. And we can discuss it in the live chat or in the comment section. So after that, Katie did let Gina know that she had reached out to Shannon and she didn't get a response from Shannon, which we'll talk about Shannon in just a little bit once we get to the next scene where Jen is there, and we'll talk about that. So we get another scene with Katie in this episode, and it is with Katie with her sons. Now, you guys remember her son last season. Now, remember, 2 of her sons didn't live with her at all last season. One of them lived in Georgia with his dad, and the other one, he was in LA. He was out there in California, but I think he was in San Francisco or San Diego, I believe, because he wanted to go to school with his friends. So we see him, he's back. And then so Katie also let us know that her other son, who lives in Georgia, he came out there to be with them. And so now he is considering moving to California with them full time. So, hey, good for you, Katie. Good for you. Oh, you guys, something that I want to speak on real quick before I even move forward. So Gina was doing this interview with somebody earlier this week, right? And in the interview, the person mentioned Katie, and Gina's whole thing was if Katie comes back next season, then Gina wants to she's gonna have to reconsider if this is for her. And I was like, Gina, you do know that a good chunk of the fans of OC don't see it for you. And that was what I saw throughout the comments. It was like, well, good. Gina can go and she can take Emily right along with her. So I was like, I don't know what kind of stand power you think you got, Gina, but okay, girl, whatever. But let's move on, you guys, to the next person. So who do I want to go to next? Do I want to go to Emily or do I want to go to Jen? Actually, I think we can go to Emily next because it wasn't really a whole lot when it came to Emily. One thing I will say about Emily, like I'm so over the fat girl shtick when it comes to Emily. Like that is so irksome and bothersome when it comes to Emily. Because I don't know if I mentioned it in last week's review. Because the first episode, when she and Gina went to that one place, she stuck them donuts in her purse. Then last week she put that egg, the raw egg in her purse, thinking that it was a hard boiled egg. So in this week's episode, we see as Tamara, she went over to Emily's home, right? So Tamara, oh God, see, this is my problem when it comes to Tamara, right? Because Tamara is still talking about um Jen, and she's also talking about Gretchen as well, right? Now we found out that when she was talking, so she pulled up the podcast of she and Teddy, right? And she played it for the girls, and she's talking about it with Emily. And the thing is, when she's talking about it with Emily, you can see that Tamara has no remorse because Tamara doesn't feel that she said or did anything wrong. In Tamara's eyes, she's trying to defend it as, oh, well, I was saying that Gretchen got a sum of money, and the mother of the son didn't have any money, so she's trying to play it off like, well, I was just concerned, and I was just hoping that she was getting some money out of this as well. Tamara, that's not what you were doing, and I want you to stop trying to play in people's faces. What you were doing is you wanted to take a dig at Slade and Gretchen. That was all that you were doing. And if you can honestly admit that and say that, then I think that it would. I think the thing is, I know a lot of people think Tamara is the devil, right? I just wish that Tamara would be honest about some of the shit that she does and stop trying to make excuses for what she does. And that's what kind of irritated me when it came to Gina sitting there defending Tamara. So then they talk. We also find that the Tamara, which I'm not shocked that she felt the way that Jen chimed into the conversation with her and Gretchen. She has every right to feel how she feels, right? But like I said, Tamara wants to play the victim so badly, and it's irksome and it's annoying. So then later in the episode, we see as Shane and Emily, Gina and Travis, and Shannon, at the time, it was a mystery man. They went bowling. Now, the guy is one of the guys that Shannon met on Love Hotel. She sent him home over that guy, Earl. So when he got there, he's a cool guy. He seems nice. And Gina did nothing but grill him. Also, Gina and Emily, y'all, like, Gina and Emily do get on my nerves at times because in this episode they were talking. So here's the thing: we'll get to it in just a minute, but Heather is having a birthday party, right? But Heather's birthday was in January. I think her birthday is January 5th, right after the holidays, right? So Heather decided to wait until February to have a birthday party, and Emily and Gina are both harping on who waits that late to have a birthday party. Ma'am, if I mean, let her do what she wants to do with her money. Like, why do y'all care? Like, that's the problem. Like, that gets on my nerves. It gets on my nerves with those two. But yeah, like I said, Gina had, she was grilling what's his name, Adam, because she's saying she doesn't want another John Jansen in the mix, right? Someone who was a private citizen, but but then realize, hey, you're only here for the show and a little bit of fame. Okay, I mean, I guess, Gina, if that's what you want to tell yourself, then hey, have at it. I honestly don't care, but that it is what it is, right? But yeah, you guys can let me know what you guys thought about that scene with Emily, Emily scenes, and we can go ahead on and move on to. I guess we can move on to Jen because the last person that we'll talk about is Heather. So let's move on to Jen. All right. So when it comes to Jen, now we saw Jen. So Jen was out with Shannon and Heather, right? So when Shannon got there, she told them like, "Hey, I got a text message from Katie." And, me and Katie, after we got back from the trip, me and Katie met up with each other. And I told Katie, like, hey, if you're going to apologize to people, don't use the words if and but in your apology. So Shannon says that she got a text message from Katie. And in the text message, she apologizes and she uses a but in the apology because she was like, what she did was wrong, but she didn't show anybody the recording. And here's the thing: I'm here for Shannon when it comes down to that. Don't give me a but if apology. You saw my reaction to finding out that I was recorded. All you had to say was, you know what, Shannon? Yes, I recorded you. I was 100% wrong for recording you. I invaded your privacy, and I apologize about that. And leave it at that. Don't say, oh, I recorded you. I didn't let anybody listen to it, but I did record you. Like, don't do stuff like that. So Shannon has an issue with that. So then Heather says that she called Alexis before they got to Hot Pot, right? And she said that, Alexis did say that Katie played the recording for her at lunch or lunch, right? But she cannot remember if Jen was there. And Jen was like, well, I know I wasn't there. But Katie in her interview says, yes, Jen was there because she's never gone out with Alexis by herself. So Shannon believes Jen. Heather believes Alexis because Jen can't remember everything. Jen can't remember everything as well, right? So then, Heather is saying that Katie has crossed so many lines. And I was like, and so has Tamra. And that's exactly what Jen said. And she's like, so what am I supposed to do? Because, Katie, not Katie, but Heather were like, enough is enough. I was like, what does that mean? Because you don't say enough is enough to Tamra. If you're going to say enough is enough, make it apply to Tamra. Because Tamra is just as vile. If y'all want to say Katie's vile, Tamra is just as vile. Like, let's not sit here and play semantics, right? So then Heather is telling them about her birthday party. And she told Jen that, hey, I wanted it to be a couples thing. And I invited Tamra and Eddie, but Tamra told me that her attorney said since Ryan is going, is with this whole lawsuit, non-lawsuit, that Tamra's attorney said not to be around him. So Jen got pissed off, right? And Jen was going off on she was going off and cussing to it. And I was like, I bet you there's a whole family sitting right next to them. And lo and behold, there was a family right next to them. And so that was that. Now, we later in the episode see as Jen is talking to her son, who is 18 years old, right? Actually, she was talking to her youngest son about what sports he's going to sign up for, right? And then he also got in trouble in school for talking, but Ryan didn't help the situation by no means, right? So then Jen and Ryan were talking about they're trying to move up the wedding sooner, right? And her son has signed up for the Marines, so they want to do it before he goes off for basic training. And then Jen was asking him, like, with your brother, did he resign his loan? He was like, yeah. And she's like, did you and your dad sign it? And did you sign as a co-signer? He was like, I did. And I was like, oh my God, that daddy ain't shit. Like, how do you sit there and have your 18-year-old son sign as a co-signer for your 21-year-old son? So you are essentially trying to fuck up this boy's credit already. Like, that is crazy. Oh my God. And that is mind blowing to me. Like, how can you do that to your kids? Literally have them sign a damn like, and that's what I have an issue with when it comes to these predatory ass student loans. You have 18-year-old kids signing things that they don't know what they're signing, and then they end up paying those big ass debts, and I ain't gonna get into the whole spiel about it, but I just when I heard that boy signed that loan, I was like, that is ridiculous, ridiculous. But that's it for Jen. So we will go ahead and move on and wrap up the episode, you guys, with Heather, shall we? All right, you guys, let's get Heather on the screen. So Miss Fancy Pants herself. Now we see as Heather met up with Tamara for lunch, right? And so Tamara is talking about how it's been a rough 6 months for her, right? With therapy and even the stuff with Teddy. Now, I do have a heart and I can be empathetic. So the stuff when it comes to Teddy, I do feel bad for Tamara. I really, really feel bad for Tamara. And I send nothing but prayers up for Teddy because I really don't know what's going on with Teddy currently. But I hope and wish nothing but the best for Teddy. I hope that Teddy is able to beat the cancer. So when it comes down, if she mentions Teddy, I'm gonna go easy on Tamara. So Tamara was talking about the fact that she watches videos of she and Teddy, and that has to be hard. Looking at somebody that you love, looking at your best friend, especially your best friend, right? And knowing that there's very little that you can do. The only thing you can do is stay positive and be the positive light in their life, right? So once again, definitely sending up prayers for Teddy, right? Now, Heather, she told Tamara that she sees a change in Tamara. And I was like, what change do you see in Tamara besides the fact that she's changed clothes? Because Tamara is still the same person. And what I will say is with Tamara, I hope that Tamara doesn't, but I heard that she left the New Orleans trip and said something about Teddy, right? What I hope she doesn't do is I hope that if she says and does something to the ladies, that she doesn't use the fact of, oh, I'm going through something with Teddy. I hope that she doesn't use that and do that, right? So Heather also let her know that, hey, you know, I talked to Jen and I asked Jen, like, why can't you give her any grace? Did Tamara give her any grace last season with this whole stuff with Ryan? Because if she did, then I missed it, then absolutely give Tamara some grace. But Tamara didn't give her any grace, so why should she extend grace to Tamara? You know what I'm saying? So Heather also feels like with this whole Gretchen thing that it's really most of them just bashing her. And I was like, I beg to differ because Gretchen didn't come in there on 10 with Tamara. Tamara started with Gretchen at that hot pot last week. So let's not sit here and try to do that either. But Heather did let her know, like, hey, I invited Ryan and Jen to the party, and Jen got completely upset with me, right? So Tamara's whole thing is you don't have a relationship with Ryan, so uninvite him because Eddie and I won't come. Well, y'all just won't come. But Heather's like, how about you come and you guys just completely avoid each other? That would be too much like right, especially when it comes to somebody like Tamara, but neither here nor there. So we see as everyone is showing up to Heather's party, right? So Shannon came there with yet another guy from the Love Hotel. Now, I don't remember what his name was, but he was a good looking guy, right? So we see as Heather had a conversation with Katie, and so she thanked Katie for coming, and Shannon saw them having a conversation, and Shannon was upset about it. And here's my thing: I'm not even mad at Shannon for being upset that Katie and Heather were having a conversation with each other, right? I can't even sit here and lie to you and tell you that I am upset because I would feel the same way that Shannon felt, right? So Jen is saying to Katie, like, you need to fix things with Shannon. So we see as Shannon and the guy that she's on the date with, they're sitting together. And so Jen was like, you know what? I'm gonna go distract him get him away from Shannon so that way you can go and have a conversation with Shannon, right? So they did that. Now, Katie. I do like you, but I have to say you were 100% wrong in this scene with Shannon. So Katie started off by apologizing. And so then Shannon mentioned the whole text message where you were trying to explain away what you did, right? And then Katie goes into trying to explaining it again to Heather. Not Heather, but to Shannon, right? So she says that she was on a business call, but Katie, they said you hung up and you started recording Shannon. So it must not have been that important of a business call that you hung up the business call, right? And you say that you never played it for Alexis, never heard it. But I was like, Katie, that's not true because you even admitted it last week that it was you, Alexis, and Jen. Katie, if you forget the things that you say, you might need to go take you might need to go get a checkup and see what's going on with your if you're having short-term memory loss because that is kind of alarming. So then Shannon said that she's worried about Katie's mental state, and I was like, "No, Shannon, I don't know if I would." Well, yeah, if you saying things and doing things that you forgetting, yeah, you got some problems, Katie. So Shannon said that you are in the same category as John Jansen, and so like once again, Katie was making excuses like nobody heard it but Matt, but someone heard it. Someone heard it, Katie, and that's a problem. You recorded the woman. The easiest thing for you to do to smooth this over, don't try to explain away what you did. Just simply own up to it and be like, okay, Shannon, you're right. I definitely shouldn't have recorded you. That's my bad. And leave it at that. But don't try to explain it away. So it's getting, Shannon is getting increasingly loud. And honestly, I'm not even upset with Shannon. So Shannon told Katie, like, you're evil and you're delusional and you're worse than Alexis Bellino and Tamra Judge. Now, do I agree with that? Not 100%. When it comes to Katie, I just don't think Katie knew what she was getting herself into by signing up for this show. And it's clearly showing itself. But that's all I got, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comments section below. Subscribe to the channel, you guys. Turn on your post notifications and share the video. And until next time, do me a solid favor. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Be blessed. And I'll see you guys in They Cutting the Food, which will be premiering at 4 p.m. And Let's Get Into the Blogs, which will premiere at 4:30 p.m. And then I will see you guys tomorrow morning for Beyond the Gates. And then Really B and I will be going live tomorrow as well at 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 noon Eastern Time to discuss the last 2 weeks of Beyond the Gates, guys. And I'm going to get off of here and hope you guys have a great rest of your day and have a great weekend. Bye, guys.